Today, the defense began its cross-examination, which did not start off that well. Here's Trump attorney Todd Blanche. Mr. Cohen, my name is Todd Blanche. You and I have never spoken or met before, have we? Michael Cohen, we have not. Mr. Blanche, but you know who I am, don't you? Cohen, I do. Mr. Blanche, as a matter of fact, you went on TikTok and called me a crying little, this is a euphemism here, poop, didn't you? Cohen, sounds like something I would say. Prosecutor Susan Hoffender, objection, Your Honor, the court sustained. At that point, Judge Juan Merchan called the lawyers into a sidebar, and while observers in the court could not hear that conversation, the official court transcript tells us what went down. Here's the court, Judge Merchan. Why are you making this about yourself, Mr. Blanche? I'm not making it about myself, Your Honor. I have a right to show this witness's bias, and he has expressed bias about the lawyers just because of who he represents. The court. It doesn't matter if he has bias towards you. It doesn't matter. The issue is whether he has bias toward the defendant. Don't make it about yourself. I'm going to sustain the objection and instruct the jury. Please, don't make it about yourself. The cross-examination did not get much better from there. During roughly 2 hours of questioning, Trump attorney Todd Blanche painted for the jury several conflicting profiles of Michael Cohen and why he was testifying against Donald Trump. There was Michael Cohen, the unreliable narrator, who would lie about anything. Then there was Michael Cohen, the jilted surrogate son, trying to get back at his father figure. There was also Michael Cohen, the desperate prisoner, who would say anything to get out of jail. And then there was Michael Cohen, the greedy self-promoter, trying to cash in on turning against Trump. What we did not get from the defense, however, was a coherent narrative that explained why the jury should believe that Donald Trump is not guilty. I was stunned by the lack of effort put towards actually dismantling a legal argument about potential felonies.
Yeah, and it did move around a tremendous amount. It had a bunch of different conflicting theories, which, again, if you're just trying to kind of rough the guy up and muddy him, okay, fine. But even there was one point where they spent all this time, a lot of time, on the fact that Michael Cohen keeps talking about the case, even though everyone involved in the case from prosecutor's office is like, for the love of God, STFU, Michael Cohen. And he refuses to do so, right?
Right.
And so, but what I guess they were trying to do was to say, look, this is a guy who doesn't listen and goes rogue and does his own thing. I guess. But he's not. Michael Cohen doesn't work for the DA's office. The relationship he has with the DA's office is not the relationship he has with Donald Trump.
And it's a stretch to imagine that a guy who goes rogue is going to pay off a porn star $140,000 using a home equity line of credit just because he's a rogue operator.
Exactly. And I felt like if that's what you are saying, and maybe they will tie this up tomorrow, or maybe they will do a great job of it in closing arguments. If the point you're saying is, look, this is a guy who does his own thing and you can't tell him what to do, it never went anywhere. There's just a lot of inquiries that felt like they started and never culminated, was my feeling just sitting in that overflow. We're watching it in real time, where I would even be a little on, like, they would get me. Blanche is doing the cross-examination rhythm where you're asking questions and Cohen saying, yes, sir, boom, boom. And you're like, okay.
Right.
And then it's like,
we're going places.
Where are we going? And then it's like, yeah. And then it would just sort of peter out, and then we'd move to another topic. And so I felt, even though I said earlier, there were moments where he did feel sort of squirrely, there never felt like any kind of satisfying narrative catharsis in which I felt like, oh, he's caught in a lie, or he's oh, wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. There was no light bulb moment.
There are two other people here on set who I'm sure have a lot of thoughts about the defense. I want to bring in now Ari Melber, MSNBC's chief legal correspondent, and, of course, the host of The Beat with Ari Melber. Ouch. And Katie Phang, MSNBC legal contributor and host of The Katie Phang Show. Thank you both for being here. I don't know, from a legal perspective, guys, at some point, does the defense not need to address this idea that, yes, there was records manipulation, and then the step-up charge to get this to a felony is a campaign finance violation of some sort? That was never even in, the actual criminal charges at the heart of this were not really addressed by the defense team during this entire cross-examination. Michael Cohen's the witness who they could go at on that.
Well, I think they're doing cross on him, and then when it's their turn, they have to decide whether they put up their case or not. And they don't have to, right? They can just say, prosecution didn't prove it. But on the defense side, today was about them trying to show the jury what they think are some of the worst of Michael Cohen. And I don't think they landed a knockout blow, but I think it was a bad day for Cohen and the prosecution. And I do think if you compare it to other witness days, I think they got a few more blows and jabs in there than against Daniels or Pecker or the other key witnesses.
Oh, yes.
And so, again, what are we comparing it to?
Right.
If you compare it to how this trial's been going, and we've all been trading off, and I was in there this afternoon, so I was watching, the jury, sometimes they were watching like a tennis match. They were watching Blanche, and then Cohen, and then Blanche. And so it's absolutely true that there was never a knockout and that it was halting and he reset. But what I kind of observed is if you're looking for one or two or three jurors who were riveted and then going, oh, that's bad, and oh, Cohen sells anti-Trump merch, and oh, Cohen says he's not obsessed, and then Blanche says, but you wrote in your book you are obsessed with Trump. And he says, okay, maybe I said that, and then, oh, you're monetizing this? And oh, you've lied to investigators before? It wasn't a great picture for him, although I don't think it dissolved everything he said.
Can I just say one thing before we go to you, Katie, which is that point is an important one, which is, I think for me, I know a lot about Michael Cohen, right? So it's like, if you tell me, oh, Michael Cohen's made millions of dollars off an anti-Trump book, I'm like, yes, of course Michael Cohen made millions of dollars. Oh, Michael Trump's selling anti-Trump merch. Well, yeah, of course, that's Michael Cohen's whole thing. That's news to the jury, presumably, or maybe in a way that makes you think, oh, this guy's really grinding an axe.
But birds of a feather, right?
Very much birds of a feather.
Talked about this
that was really the theme of the last 2 days.
Right? I mean, I say famously sometimes, like, pigs don't marry giraffes, right? I mean, there's a reason why Donald Trump used Michael Cohen. Are you baffled by that one? The pigs don't marry giraffes?
No,
just processing it. Just processing it.
But there's a reason why Donald Trump loved using Michael Cohen, because he was effective for what Michael Cohen needed to do for Donald Trump. And that is the reason why he jettisoned him when he went to the White House, because he no longer could use Michael Cohen in that capacity. But when it comes to cross-examination, it's not direct. You're not going to have necessarily a through line, nor are you necessarily going to have a chronology being followed, per se. You're going to want to hit specific areas. But what was so flawed about Blanche today is you got so disjointed following it that you didn't understand that the zingers were actually landing. God bless you, to Ari's point. And so because of that, if you are the jury and you're, as we talked about before, the low information juror, you don't have the breadth of information that we do as we live in this space, you're taking it in, but you're not understanding the import of it. But I do think simultaneously, though, because Trump does have the larger-than-life kind of presence, Trump is the ultimate selling merch grifter. So it's not like you're appalled when you hear that somebody else successfully has taken that model and is making money. Are you supposed to begrudge Michael Cohen because he's been disbarred because of what he did for him and he went to prison, that he's making money off of it? They all are doing it. And so it's not like you're never going to get a clean person in this. Everybody has dirty hands.
Yeah, and to that point, Ari, they built a scaffolding around Michael Cohen before they brought him out, right? I mean, we started with David Pecker. We have Stormy Daniels. We have a number of witnesses who corroborate the same facts that Michael Cohen is. I mean, he's the last witness, we're told, for the prosecution.
Yeah, and I think that was smart and both made sense, but also my observation is today is a reminder of why they saved him for last.
Yeah.
They had a sense, as the questions gestured towards, how unreliable he is, how he was basically defying their requests. That doesn't mean he's lying, but it certainly leaves the jury saying, well, even now at the trial, in the last few weeks, the questions suggest that he wouldn't follow the rules. Yeah. And I do think, again, I'm not saying it breaks the case,
right.
But if one or more jurors think, I have reasonable doubt as to whether this guy, who doesn't have enough respect for the system, who didn't follow the rules, we're being told about all the rules, maybe he's playing with the timeline. Maybe he's playing with his accounting of Trump's intent. Because, again, the records case has been established. It's what we call documented by the documents and the signed checks by Donald Trump. But the intent has to be that Trump had the criminal intent to do it then, not in a reimbursement afterward, not as we talked about last night at some later date. And Cohen is key to that. You have to believe, if you're a juror, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Trump did it, okay, that's the documents, that it was for the campaign, I've talked a lot about that, and that Trump had that requisite criminal intent, which Trump didn't write down. You need Cohen or someone else to get you there.